Welcome everyone to the channel once again, and this will be a video where we'll discuss one of the biggest news that broke out in the past 24 hours. FSG, the Fanway Sports Group, have put Liverpool up for sale. The fans have been protesting for quite some time now for multiple reasons. They furloughed the staff during the first wave of COVID-19. Then they also went into the Super League when so much protest happened. And the timing of the Super League was also terrible because people were still in their houses, the stadium was still locked. And then they haven't also bagged Klopp enough that Liverpool fans were like, we had the best managers for God knows how long, and we had the players, we were there, we were competing with a side that we had no right to compete with, and still you didn't back us with a few extra millions. And Tottenham have spent more than Arsenal, and Arsenal, Tottenham have spent, Arsenal have also spent, and so many clubs have spent more than Liverpool for this past year. So, coming to you, Kostu, what was your reaction to? Do you think it's time for FSG to move on?
I think if you look at it from their point of view, I think this is probably the best time to sell. I think I don't remember exactly when they bought it, but I do remember that they bought the club for around 300 million pounds for, in back in 2013 or 14. And if Chelsea's sale has sort of set the benchmark for the valuation of English Premier League clubs, which I think is at the highest it is going to be given the strength that the Premier League has over other European leagues. And if I'm not wrong, Chelsea was sold for 4 billion eventually. And I think they've set the valuation for Liverpool at 5 billion. So if they bought the club for 300 million and are able to sell the club for 5 billion, I think that is brilliant business. And from the fans' perspective, also, I think they've done their job. I think they took a club that was a mid-table club pushing for European spots at best to a club that is, it's a disappointment when they don't win trophies in a season. Like that's the level they are at. They're winning. They have won. I think under Klopp, they've won every trophy that they've competed in. And I think maybe it's time for them to sell. Like I think they believe that this is as far as they can take the club. I don't think they have the financial resources to sort of compete with City or United for the next 10 years. So I think, if at this point they decide to sell the club, I think overall it's been a good ride, and I think Liverpool fans should sort of be happy that that all of this happened rather than be salty about the things that they sort of didn't do.
So I get what you're saying, but because of Klopp, I followed Liverpool very closely for the past 7 years, and I disagree with a few. I don't disagree, but it's I have a different perspective on those things.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say is when they bought Liverpool, Liverpool weren't a mid-table club because in the last few years they were under Roy Hodgson, and that was a pretty bad spell, of course. But just 1 or 2 seasons ago, they finished second, 4 points behind Man United when they had Torres and they were under Rafa Benitez. They were
But
called
if
the
you see,
gelatin.
that was against the norm. That was not happening year in, year out. That was like one season. But barring that, they were at
Okay.
best a Europa League team, I would say.
Yeah, I mean they beat. I think they beat. Yeah, okay, that's different. But what Gillett and Hicks did was they took Liverpool close to the title, and they brought Rafa Benitez. They went close to a title with Torres and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then they were in debt. FSG came in, and FSG. The problem, when you say they couldn't invest more, they didn't have as much money in the bank as maybe City had. The difference between Liverpool and Man United and all the other clubs is that Liverpool, Man United generate so much that the owner doesn't have to invest. So there were articles pushed out by some great Liverpool journalists who were against FSG, and they said that Liverpool and Man United generate so much more revenue than Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. Arsenal are probably third, then Chelsea are with them, and City and Tottenham are still very low in that. So they didn't have to take money out of their pocket. What they did was is actually what the Glazers have done with Man United. It's very similar. And despite that, what Glazers have invested is not from their pocket. It's actually what Man United generate. It's very similar with what FSG have done. They haven't invested from their own pocket. In fact, the Van Dijk and Allison buying, FSG admitted themselves that without the selling of Coutinho, that wouldn't have happened. So they were never going to take money out of their pocket, and they don't even have to. Even if they spend money from the revenue that Liverpool generate, they will spend more than Arsenal.
City generates a lot more money than I think like they would be in the top 5 teams in the world right now.
Man
Like for
City.
that's right.
Man City is the second most profitable team in Europe right now. I mean, but there's a clear distinction between revenue and
Profit,
profits.
yeah,
I feel
exactly. Profit
that's the
and
thing we need to
revenue, yeah.
see.
Profit and
Let's
revenue.
put some context into it. You mentioned Gillett and Hicks, right? When they came into the club, it was after like a 16-year spell of a former like Liverpool fan favorite who was owning the club, and these guys came in with a lot of promise. Much like the Fenway Sports Group, like obviously the Fenway Sports Group, you know what they were, you knew what they were. They're like a sporting group that own multiple clubs around the world. But when Gillett and Hicks came in, they promised a lot, and then they put the club into debt. So when FSG came into the club, they came in at the right time. They bailed Liverpool out from an absolute mess because fans were completely disillusioned with their club. They were not going anywhere in terms of the league. Like Kostub said, that was an outlier, them finishing second. It wasn't the standard, and they had really pathetic seasons under them. And they would have had even more worse seasons. That's the thing that a lot of people fail to see. Like just because there's proof in front of you doesn't mean that it can't be worse in the future. Had they stayed, it would have been worse. So FSG came at the right time. I feel like FSG got a lot of stick. See, they didn't come in with the guise of saying that we are going to absolutely send Liverpool into superpowers. That is like obviously Liverpool is a huge club. They generate a lot of revenue like United, but they're not super. They were not superpowers at that time. They hadn't won the league in 20 years when FSG took over, and they had only won the Champions League in 2005. So it had been 5 good years since they had won anything of note. So FSG managed to stabilize things. They generated a lot of profit, and they brought in Klopp. See, a lot of the success that Liverpool has got is, yes, it is because of Klopp. But just because a manager is something good doesn't mean that, that can be constant success under Klopp. Despite them not winning numerous trophies, season after season, they've done really well. There hasn't been a major drop off. They have not finished outside the top four ever since, Klopp made that charge back in 2016 where he finished 4-4 and then the league. So
Correct.
it's not like FSG have disappointed. I just feel like FSG's time has run out. It's like the perfect time for them to leave, for somebody else to come and capitalize on the stability that Liverpool have right now, which did not exist 10 years ago, 10 to 12 years ago. Liverpool were not stable. They're a very stable club financially. They have the revenue, like Devashi said, they have the revenue as well to back that up. So it's not just a case, for example, like United. United has the revenue, but they do not have stability. Whoever comes and takes over
But
them,
like,
a lot of
just 1 second, guys, just on the revenue thing, like I've just found like the commercial growth, like there's a graph showing the commercial growth from 2011 to 2020. So I don't know, can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you see the red one, the first one is United, which is like clearly like, head and shoulders above everyone else. The second one is City in light blue. Green is Liverpool. And yeah, just see this. So if you see like, the growth that Liverpool have had is also pretty recent. Like, once the trophy started coming in, that's when the growth of the club like financially really happened. So I think before that, for them to even compete, it was a big achievement. Like, as you mentioned, like, their achievements like that, finishing second with Rogers, finishing second, with Torres and Gerrard winning I don't think, even Gillette was there back when they won the Champions League. But,
no.
Those things are outliers among, pretty average or even disappointing seasons in Liverpool's history. So with FSG coming in, I feel like they've put the structures in place to get Liverpool playing out of their skin, as well as not only on the field but off the field. Like everything that they've done around the club has been to like streamline the process so much that with the limited funds that they have been able to spend, they have done the best they can, and sometimes even gone on to win Champions League titles, which at the budget that they have would not be possible for any other club. So as
And
as
that's down
Rohit,
to FSG.
I believe that is a lot down to FSG. Even like, you may say that Klopp came in and did a lot, but who signed Klopp? Who brought Klopp? It is
Michael
FSG.
Edwards.
Very good point.
Michael Edwards
But
signed
who
Klopp, not
appointed
FSG.
Michael
Who is
Edwards?
Michael Edwards?
It's all
Works
a
for
change,
who?
no?
Yeah,
It's
of
the
course.
same
I mean
thing.
but that way then we cannot appreciate anyone, man. Because what I'm saying is expectations change. Expectations cannot stay same in 2020 as they were in 2012. In 2012, expectations were come in club, please stabilize us. We are struggling. In 2021, the expectation is we are the best. We are doing very well with very limited fund. Can you increase it by 5%? Can you increase it by 10%? Can you replace Wijnaldum? Can, can you replace Wijnaldum? Replacing Wijnaldum doesn't
But
make
don't you
Messi.
think they're doing the right thing? But don't you think, exactly to your point, they're leaving at the right time? They like obviously tried to
I mean
maintain that.
that.
They tried to maintain that, sustain that form where they were winning. Right? They last won their title in 2020. 2020,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
2019,
And
yeah.
yeah.
obviously it's been 3 years now. We still
Mhm.
talk about 2020 like it's the recent past. It's not recent.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah.
2 years, and
Right.
they have not won anything after that. Yes, they did win the Carabao Cup and FA Cup. Okay, fine, but they have not really gone and sunk their teeth in like Man City, who have won title after title after title. But FSG gave it a good go. They did try. Like
What
maybe they
FSG
did
did
not.
actually was FSG did was what FSG did actually was their business model of not investing enough, investing very less, and winning a lot is actually not a surprise, because they did the same thing as Boston Red Sox. They own a Boston Red Sox, which is a
Yeah.
baseball club in the United States of America. There they own a baseball club. What they did was they came into Liverpool and they had a structure, they had a model which was so new for the English game that people actually couldn't cope up with it. But now Arsenal and Tottenham and Man City have all coped up with that, and now that model cannot continue, which is they brought in the level of science which did exist before. The scouting science Liverpool had in 20 until 2020, only Man City had that. No one else had that. That's why Salah, a flop, came to Liverpool and shone. That's why Mane, an unknown player, came and did everything. That's why Firmino, who knew Firmino, and now is the best rammed outer in the world. He replicated what Thomas Muller did for Bayern Munich for so long. That was down to science. Of course, that was down to coaching and Michael Edwards, but that was down to the scientific model that FSG brought into Liverpool. But if you don't adapt, if you don't keep up, then others will catch up, and that's
But
just what has
exactly, that's
happened.
what I feel like. That's what I completely agree with your point that, they sort of came in and, changed the game. And, Michael Edwards did a brilliant job putting together this team with a very limited resource. But that's what, as Rohit said, I feel like, if you cannot go to a business and be like, I want you to spend money.
Exactly, man.
They,
People are
someone like the
spoiled.
fans have an attachment to the club, but as a business, they may
Yeah.
not see it the same way. Like, it's not about winning trophies. It may be more about, they want to go and find the next Liverpool or invest in a new sport or,
I think that's true,
do
actually.
something
You
different.
know
See,
what? I think that's true, actually,
unfortunately,
because I just a minute,
yeah, go
Rohit. I
ahead.
think that's true because if you look at the way they have invested, I don't think they even wanted to win the league. I think they were pre on schedule. I don't think they had the aim to win the league, because I think realistically it's very hard to beat Man City and whatever they are doing. That even they thought that, yeah, let's target for a top three finish and let's get the players for that. They got the players for that. The rest of it was actually down to the way they executed it on the pitch with Klopp, with Pep Lingers, with the way they improved the team and built a unit. So I think even they didn't aim to win the league. I think Klopp actually just got them there. And Klopp was like, no, I can actually pound for pound, Klopp is very good. So like he went like, okay, I'll do it. And he did the rest of it. So I don't even think FSG actually tried to win the Premier League. I think their aim was to just get into the top four, increase the club revenue, sell the club at a massive profit, which they are now doing. But I think it was down to Klopp and the brilliance of Michael Edwards, actually, which people actually overlook. It was actually down to Michael Edwards, Klopp, and Pep Lingers, who have actually then taken Liverpool to a level that actually probably even FSG didn't aim for. And maybe that's the reason why they're not investing, because maybe they're just like, we didn't even want to win it. So just because you won it, our aim is not changing. Our aim was to consistently finish in the top four. We are doing that. So even I don't even think, I'm just speaking from their perspective.
But I feel like that's fair enough. Like, for them as a business, their ultimate goal for any business is to make more money at the
Yeah,
end of
and
the
they're
day.
doing it because they're taking
So I
money
think
out of
they've
the
done
club, just
that, and
like the Glazers do. They're
I
doing
think
the
like
exact.
also.
I think the problem is they're doing the
No,
exact
that's
same
beautiful.
things. I think they're doing so much of the same things that the Glazers have done. The only thing they've done differently is they've hired very right people in very right positions, and Klopp has actually created a mask over whatever FSG have done. So like managerial excellence by Klopp has actually created a mask over the lack of investment that FSG have done, because FSG have invested less than Arsenal, less than Tottenham, less than Leicester City. You are telling me that is good? Because I have a graph here with me, and that just showed net spend since Klopp came to Liverpool. Liverpool's net spend, this is until the end of last season, so this season is not taken into account. Liverpool's net spend is 260 million euros. I will not speak about Man City, Man United. I'll speak about only Chelsea, Arsenal, and Tottenham. Chelsea, 500 million. Arsenal, 600, and I'm just rounding off the figures. Arsenal, 600 million. Tottenham, 403 million. Tottenham have almost double the amount of net spend than Liverpool. And you are telling me that FSG's aim to win the league. So I'm not even saying that they want to win the league. All I'm saying is Klopp did something that even FSG did not think they would. FSG have done a very similar thing to what Glazers have done. They have taken so much money out of the club. I don't blame them for that. They own the club. They can take money out of it. But that's not a football. That is not what a footballing institution represents. Go back to the days of Bill Shankly. Bill Shankly created Liverpool after the war because he wanted a place where the people of City can go and represent themselves. I'm not telling to be nostalgic, to be unrealistic. Of course, that cannot be replicated now. But the values of the club need to be taken into consideration when you do something. I'm not asking them to spend as much as money. If Tottenham are spending more than you, a club like Tottenham are spending more than you, then there has, and you have a manager like Klopp who is winning everything despite not spending as much as anyone. I think somewhere FSG need, I'm not saying it's all down to FSG, I'm saying somewhere there is some blame on FSG as well, that replacing Wijnaldum is not rocket science. Not buying, just getting signing Arthur on loan on deadline day is a joke, man. You lose, you knew.
But I feel like, on the Wijnaldum thing, I feel like they did have, like, that's what the whole summer, I think the past summer, their whole aim, like the whole transfer strategy was aimed on Chouameni. But ultimately, Madrid came in with an offer that, Liverpool just couldn't match. And they sort of were left in a difficult
situation. That's the point. Mate, you let Mane go. You let Mane go. And the reason to let Mane go is, what was the reason? The actual reason is both Mohamed Salah and Mane wanted a higher raise. They said we can only afford one. I mean, if you go with that model now, you can't compete with Man City. All I'm saying is that model, you can't compete with Man City. You can't win the league. And I'm just saying, if you have Klopp, you shouldn't. You then have
I feel
to
like FSG, the whole FSG model is centered around punching above their weight. Like, I feel like Liverpool have reached a point where the players that they want to sign will demand higher wages, will cost a lot more, which I think at the end of the day, FSG is not really interested in sort of, building this Liverpool team into like a dynasty ultimately. And I think fair enough for them, like, instead of holding the club ransom like the Glazers have done, if they are ready to sell the club on to someone who is ready to invest the money and, sort of give the fans what they want, get the players in, get the players that the manager wants and support him the right way. I think fair enough to them. Like, they've done, like, over the past 6-7 years, the success, I think even Liverpool fans would agree that the success has been unprecedented to go out
unprecedented because of Man City, not because of Liverpool. Unprecedented because of what Man City do.
Guys, it's not like, the thing is, it's not black and white. It's not like FSG is bad, FSG is good. It's somewhere in the middle.
Of course.
So, like, to put context to this, let me give you 3 quick points. One regarding ownership in the Premier League, one regarding Liverpool, and one regarding United. First of all, with ownership, I feel like a lot of clubs have been spoiled by the fact that they are owned by these, consortiums, or they're owned by states, or they're owned by oligarchs. Exactly. So it inherently becomes an expectation. It all started with Chelsea. It clearly started with Chelsea in 2003 when Abramovich came in and pumped in loads and loads of money. And it was through his own pocket. It wasn't through a business model. Yeah. See, like, first of all, owners are never going to be billionaires in this day and age where the wages are off the roof, or the transfer fees is off the roof. Owners are not going to just pump in money. It's always going to be a business model. It's becoming unsustainable. Football is becoming unsustainable. That's why we see all these dark elements like the Super League and all of these things coming into the game, because money needs to be generated. So people need to act smartly. You're not going to get, the Saudis or a bunch of Russians coming and pumping in money. That's regarding ownership. Now, coming to Liverpool, See, look, there's, like you said, Liverpool is an emotional club. There's always going to be that sense of emotion with Liverpool. Now, FSG followed stuff. FSG, entered the Super League. A lot of other clubs did as well. Basically, all the top six did it. Arsenal followed their stuff, but Arsenal is not getting as much stick right now. Why? Because they're doing well. Everybody's suddenly forgotten about Kroenke and all these guys who, well, Arsenal fans were against. So Liverpool is always an emotional city. Every single step is analyzed, scrutinized, and with Liverpool, there's always that nostalgia. I know you said like it's just nostalgia, but that's the culture of the city. Yes, agreed. But you have to put context. 30 years is a long time, man. They did not win the league for 30 years.
Yeah.
It was the very first Premier League title. So to bring them from where they were back in 2010 to this point, until they won the title, was a good job, was a commendable job. Yes, granted, a lot of things went their way. The fact that Klopp was available at that time, the fact that Klopp is the manager he is, and he galvanized the squad, the fact that Salah is, Salah was not an amazing player. Let's be honest about it. He came to Liverpool and he blew the Premier League. He took the football world by storm. He was a good player, but he was nowhere the point where he is right now. So a lot of things had to click, and FSG got lucky regarding that. But a lot of it was also their own doing. But right now, I agree with you. It's the right time for FSG to leave. And when you talk about Liverpool, you always have to talk about United. I feel like those two just go hand in hand with the history, with the owners that they have. Now, a lot of United fans always talk about Glazers leaving. Now, imagine if the Glazers leave tomorrow. It's not like United is suddenly going to become an amazing club. That is not going to be the case. United is so unstable right now. The only thing that's even keeping them afloat is the revenue that they generate every single year because of their name. That was all done by Sir Alex. But that was what? Probably a decade ago. Give it two more decades, and United's situation will become exactly like Liverpool's. It will go into debt. It will go into financial instability. It will go into a lot of other things. It's already unstable. So it's a cycle. See, it's not like as easy as it may seem. Like another owner just coming and pumping in money, and then Liverpool absolutely becoming great, because money is not the be all and end all. Yes, I totally agree. You have to be spending a little more, especially with what Klopp did and with Wijnaldum, with all these different players that they could have gotten. Not going for Chouamani in that season and getting bloody Arthur Melo is obviously down to FSG not acting properly and not being ahead of the curve. They're being reactive and not proactive. But the fact of the matter is they're leaving at the right time. And that's commendable in my opinion, because they have left Liverpool in a far better place than when they came in. Liverpool is a profitable club right now. Liverpool is back winning leagues. They're back winning things. And whoever comes in is going to find an absolutely amazing club to take over. And if Klopp stays, they will have a fantastic manager also who they can back. And it's the perfect time. And despite FSG having its shortcomings, I think Liverpool they should not have a bitter taste in their mouth. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think both things go hand in hand. I think both things can be true simultaneously. So FSG did very much for Liverpool. Liverpool should be grateful for that. But in the last 3-4 years, FSG could have done more, and Liverpool fans are right to be not happy with that. I think both things can be simultaneously true. But overall, I think you have to create a business model that can compete with the businesses that you're competing with. And if you're competing with Man City, you have to spend more than Tottenham. You cannot spend 200 million less than Tottenham and expect your manager to compete with Man City. And I don't think even they are expecting. Otherwise, they would have sacked Klopp to compete with Man City. So I think overall, I just think FSG have failed.
I feel like
Klopp. I think FSG have failed Klopp.
I feel like FSG had the potential to build something like could have been like a dynasty, as I mentioned. Like that year where they did not, I think one transfer window, one summer they did not make a single signing. I think that's where over the last 3 years you could say that they missed a beat in adding, just sprinkling in a few, may not be like superstars, but like at least bodies in the team to
exactly,
give
man. It was
Liverpool adequate cover when it
man.
came
Sir
to...
Alex Ferguson said the best time to strengthen is when you're winning. It's not when you're losing. The best time to strengthen is when you're winning. And Man City, when they signed Grealish, they didn't even need Grealish. They got Grealish. They spent what, 100 million on Grealish. The guy has been an absolute flop, but still, it's like it's not being talked about enough, or it's not affecting Man City because they'll spend another 100 million pound. But if Liverpool Nunes fails, it's a collapse because they need him to succeed, because otherwise they will struggle. So overall, the landscape is what I find difficult too. And I think overall, FSG have failed Klopp. because Liverpool fans come to me and say the FSG model have worked. A lot of Liverpool fans come and say the FSG model have worked, the FSG model have worked, the FSG model has worked because we have won all of these things. I'm saying the FSG model hasn't worked because you have lost by 1 point on 2 occasions. Losing by 1 point on 2 occasions and losing 2 Champions League finals, I think speaks volumes, because in these games, Pep can just bring anyone off the bench to win the game. And Liverpool have on the bench Arthur Melo, Joe Gomez, James Milner, Jordan Henderson, Conor Gallagher, and I mean, Calvin Ramsey, and it's like, and Pep has Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Raheem Sterling, Leroy Sané. The landscape is completely different. But
Guys,
overall, the
how
debate.
ironical would it be? How ironical would it be if a Middle East consortium came and suddenly bought Liverpool after all of Klopp's comments about
Yeah,
those 3 clubs being the greatest? It would be the most
Mate,
hypocritical, ironical move ever.
I would love if Mukesh Ambani just gets him. I would love it. I would love it.
Yeah, I don't think
I think
Liverpool
that's
fans
what,
would.
like, also
Liverpool
like
fans won't. Liverpool fans won't, because Liverpool fans are Britishers, and Britishers don't
Yeah.
want them to be owned by an Indian,
India.
I
and
think
they
they
won't
better
care
start
about it.
getting
They're
used to
having
it.
decent experience with that, no? With in the last few weeks, getting owned by
Exactly.
Indians.
And also with Ambani, like already running successful businesses in the form of Mumbai Indians
Sports.
and the ISL, I feel like, adding this to his portfolio would, certainly increase the brand value that even the ISL has. See the potential
Yeah.
that they have, like Liverpool has, of growing their fan base in India, a 1 billion market that Liverpool has, like even currently they have very limited access to. Imagine like if this deal goes through and Ambani does buy them, like the potential that seeing in preseason Liverpool versus an ISL 11, or them coming to India in a preseason tour, I think India would absolutely go insane if, like,
And even it's like,
Salah and
Man
like
City, the City Football Group have created that link. So how they
correct,
send Indian youngsters of Mumbai City FC to Man City to learn more, to educate themselves
correct,
more. A similar thing can happen with, not of course he doesn't, he owns the whole football league here, not one club. So
correct.
that can change into a different model where, people actually do that. There are
Mhm.
the Dubai royal families there, the Bahrain royal families there. There are so many people who can actually buy
And
them.
of course, I'm sure there will be American
Yeah,
consortiums
You
that are
see,
there are
you
already.
see how all of these are royal families. Only like it's football has come to a point where if anybody wants to buy these big clubs, only royal families, sovereign funds, countries and states can buy them.
correct.
That's how horrible it's gone. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's a
So
discussion
Like
altogether.
I think that's just the point we are at, in the sense that the money in football, I don't think anyone else can match the amount of money required, like especially like one individual stumping up 5 billion to buy a club, then having the funds to fund the club, to make it successful, like firstly to run it on a daily basis, then fund it to be successful. I think that this is where we are at with football. So
I think
I think
anyone
hopefully
apart
at least
from Mukesh Ambani, and this is a bit of biasness because I'm an Indian and I'm on an Indian side. How wrong is that? So the one thing I'll say is anyone apart from Mukesh Ambani will look at this project as a sports washing project. Mukesh Ambani will also look at it from a sports washing perspective, but his thing, the whole part of sports washing in his whole project will be less than it would be with the guys from Dubai and with the guys from Qatar, because that's what they have been doing for the World Cup, and that's what Sheikh Mansour has been doing in the city of Manchester as well. So Mukesh Ambani will have less of that. I will love to go, for a Navratri Garba nights at Anfield and Har Ghar Teranga taking place at Anfield on the 15th of August. But Liverpool fans won't like it, because at the end of the day, Liverpool fans are Britishers, and Britishers wouldn't like to be controlled by an Indian. But I would absolutely love that. So that's my take on it. I would love Ambani to take it. There's a whole level of biasness, because I'm not a fan of any club, but I'm a fan of Indian football. So I will be biased towards Indian football, because that in the bigger picture will help Indian football massively. So that was the debate, guys. It went heated. It went all of this. There were Google searches. There was everything. And and with that, we'll come to the end of this debate. Very soon, we'll see you again and we'll discuss another good topic. Bye.
Yes.